really get to know your new group. And we've got a lot of new faces, as you know. We've got 3 transfers in that we think fit what we're doing and what we need to do to continue to grow. And then our rookie class brings such goodness and talent across kind of all positions. And the returners, the strong core of returners, have been just really great leaders. They've been really, they understand they fell short of their goals last year, and I think they've been really internal about what they need to do to be better moving forward. And it's just been fun. So, I'm happy to answer any particular questions. But yeah, it's just a great time of year for all coaches, especially for me.
All right, RL, why don't you lead us off?
Hey, Courtney, good to see you.
You too.
You've had transfers before and brought in transfers. This offseason, you're particularly active in that regard.
Ooh, I lost you. Did anybody else hear?
No.
Hey, RL,
Yeah.
you went totally silent. RL, are you talking or trying to talk?
I think maybe your question was about the transfers. Yeah.
Is it not coming?
There, now I can hear you. Yeah, you didn't, nothing was happening. So you want to ask me a question?
RL, can you start over? All right, you know what? We'll go back to RL. Michael, why don't you go ahead?
Hey there, Coach.
Hey.
Good to see you again. With the improvements to Carmichael that have been that were just announced a couple of days ago, the new LED lights, the new scoreboard, is this something that you've been pushing for a while, and now is finally the time to get it done, or was this something that all sort of came together rather quickly?
No, these have kind of all been necessary things that our product has determined in the interest around the program. The scoreboard needed to be caught up. I mean, the scoreboard is older than some of the kids I'm recruiting, right? And so I think to have a better visual for the fans, the lighting, I mean, all of it is really, it's exciting because it's needed, and it will enhance the game day experience for sure.
And the new training space that's adjacent to Woolen Gym, how is the progress of that? Is that done, or when is the expected completion date?
Well, the wall is up, as I know that's kind of a political thing to say, but the wall is up. And so the good news is that there'll be basketballs bouncing. The big thing is that we're taking kind of that back third of Woolen, which means we're taking up a space from the university as well. And so we're actually air conditioning the entire space. And air conditioning 100 and something year old building is really challenging. And so I'm not sure when the air conditioning, I think, is planned to be done in the spring. But obviously there's a lot of time you can practice without air conditioning coming up. So I know the wall's up. I'm kind of staying out of where we are beyond that, but we have movement in the form of a really cool practice gym. So that's exciting.
Great. Mitchell?
Hey, Coach, was going to ask you about your schedule. We don't obviously know the full schedule yet, but what we do know about it so far, it's pretty tough. UConn, South Carolina, the potential to play Iowa in the MTE, Oklahoma down in Charlotte. Is this all pretty intentional, and can we expect the rest of the non-conference to be just as tough?
This is at the right time, for RL, can you mute? There's a lot of back stuff from you. Is that better? Okay. No, it's not. Can you mute the other one? There's 2 of you, RL. There you go. I think the schedule is the right time, Mitch, for us. We're at the point, I think, where the UConn neutral or whatever you want to call that. We're ready for that now, right? I'm not sure we were ready for that a couple years ago. And then, the South Carolina SEC, ACC challenge, it shows the respect that we have as a program, because that's a matchup clearly ESPN wants and TV wants, and we're thrilled to be able to host it. Obviously, we have great respect for what they've done. And then, yeah, the tournament, getting a chance to play a neutral site against, we hope, 2 Power Fives down there. And with the potential of if you win, you play Iowa. We just, it's the right time for us to do that. And it's not easy to schedule. We've been trying to get some other guys on the schedule as well that we've not been able to land. But with the ACC being a real challenge every year as well, we feel like we've got the right, we got some great challenges for our group.
I was going to ask you about, you went from the Big Ten Challenge to the SEC now. Is that better or worse, pluses, minus? Any kind of feelings about that?
Yeah, we've been asked about that in terms of like even just the conferences, what happens. And as I say, you have to beat everybody at some point to win a national championship. So whether it's an ACC, SEC, ACC, Big Ten, we're going to have to beat really good teams regardless. And I think there's top to bottom. If you look at all 15 of our teams versus all 15 of the SEC or Big Ten, we've had great success against the Big Ten. It'll be fun to now see what we can do collectively against the SEC, who has some really, really good top teams, and we'll have to see how it shakes out towards the middle and bottom. So I'm excited just for a different challenge because at least since I've been here, we've won the Big Ten Challenge. So it's fun to have another opportunity against another conference.
All right, RL, you want to give it a try? RL? No? Jeremiah?
Hey, Courtney. My name is Jeremiah Holloway from Inside Carolina. Nice to meet you. I know obviously you brought in several, transfers over the offseason. I wanted to ask specifically about Lexi Donarski from Iowa State, former, Defensive Player of the Year, things like that. What kind of stood out to you in the process of bringing her on, and what's it kind of been like having her around?
Yeah, Lexi is really fun for us because we prepared to play them 2 years ago. Because if we had beaten South Carolina, we had a chance to have them. And then of course we played them last year, both when we were both out at PKI. And so, it's a kid I've been able to see and scout against. And she's a kid you worry about every time because she's going to be on your best offensive player. And then she's a knockdown threat, but she's also really versatile. So as soon as she went into the portal, I was like, oh my gosh. But I didn't know her. I'd never recruited her. I had never spoken to her. And so there were a lot of hats in that ring for Lexi, right? Because of the success that she's had. And I really respect the way their family, she's got parents as coaches, and they basically said, send us 3 games to all this, they're kind of her top 10. And then they watched those games. And from there, they determined kind of who their top 5 or top 3 were going to be. And so, I told our guys, because of how they competed and how our style of play and the way that the energy that we brought to games was what gave us a chance to get someone like Lexi. And so, typically when you recruit a transfer, you've recruited him the first time. So they know you. She had never been on campus. I'd never spoken to her. And our product did the sell. So that was really interesting. That was just a great story. It's been really fun coaching her. She's incredibly competitive. And she plays with hands. Like she just got her defensively. She's probably as fast with her hands up as she is when she's running. She plays with great length, moves her feet laterally really, really well, and is just incredibly competitive. And then she's just a great shooter that we've been able to land as we've really needed that to stretch out our offense a bit. So yeah, she's just been and then she hasn't been here much because she was playing with USA, but she's finally back. And we've been able to work her out and to be a part of her assimilating to our program. And yeah, she's a good get for us for sure. Not only the story, but just what she brings to our team.
For sure. And kind of I guess, follow up on that. I guess on paper, she kind of has like a similar skill set, I guess, as maybe Kennedy Todd Williams kind of had last year. Just kind of what are your thoughts on maybe, kind of the fit, I guess, with obviously, Deja and Usby and everybody else kind of in that starting point? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Lexi is a very good defender, right? And so we need that kind of lockdown defensive mindset. She's also a 36% 3-point shooter, right? And so she shoots the ball at a very high percentage. And she's done that on Elite 8 and Sweet 16 teams. She was a huge part of them winning the Big 12 this past year. So she's got an enormous amount of experience, minutes played, multiple positions. I think we play with a little bit more freedom than she's used to. So, it's been fun for us to say, no, that's a good time for you to attack, or this is that's a shot you turned down. And so it's been fun for us to have to kind of expand her game, and the options that she has. But, I think we've got lots of good players. I mean, India, Paulina, I mean, we got a lot of good players now, right? And so they're all going to have to really make an impact and be efficient with what they get. And she's just another one of those kids that I'm excited because I know she'll help us win basketball games. And I don't know much beyond that yet, but I know she will be helpful in us winning basketball games on both sides of the ball.
All right, RL, you want to try it again?
Well, let's try it on my phone. Technology hates me today. What I was going to ask is you've taken transfers in and before and lost players to transfer, but do you think being aggressive in the portal is essential to be competitive these days? And what is your view of this dynamic in the game? I mean, when the season ended, did you expect to be this active?
We had the players that left our program. We were pretty confident they were that was going to be their decision. But the way the portal works, at least for us, is that we don't. You don't recruit them until they're in the portal. So you don't really know who's going in the, and then once they're in the portal, it's like, oh my gosh, Lexi Donarski's in the portal, or Indy Navarre is in the portal, crazy. And so we knew that the portal is an active thing because it allows you to play with a little bit more maturity, right? It's their second place, and so it kind of has to work for them. So you get a good, opportunity there to fill an exact need, but also the NCAA is not going to make it easy for them to transfer again. So you got people that are a little more mature in their decisions and all that. So I think with what we had and what we needed, I didn't think I didn't have any idea we would get Lexi, and so we knew we needed a big, and I thought we did a good job getting one. Maria's really good and fun to watch. But, I think it is. I think if you look at the top teams in the country, a lot of them are going to have at least one transfer, and not by rule, but just because, you can really pinpoint what you need and you can finish out your roster with what you need. We knew we needed a defensive mindset. We needed a post game. We needed a guy that could really knock down shots. We needed an elite two-way athlete. We sort of got that in those three positions that we picked up.
And did either of the transfers take you by surprise? I mean, I think most fans knew that Destiny wanted to play closer to home, but Kennedy took him off guard. Did either come as a surprise to you?
No. We sort of, the portal, the reason why I think the window is going to shrink, it doesn't, pretty soon, you're kind of having these conversations throughout the year, kind of on how they're doing and what the fit is and what you're liking and all that. And, so, there was, not super surprised in either case. And, obviously we're hoping that their next decision is the right one for them.
And then a quick question. Last season, Alyssa led the team in rebounding, but with so much size next season, will what you ask of her be different?
I think we've got, it's a little early to know how we're going to utilize the pieces. But yeah, Tiani is finally healthy, or, as healthy as she's been, and she's done a really good job so far, had a really big spring. Obviously Maria can really rebound the ball. She got great size. Lexi rebounded the ball well, right? So Indy is a great rebounder. I mean, now the competition allows us to sort of play a variety of ways and more people. So you can play harder, longer, and all the things. It's a little too early to know how it's all going to shake out, but you win basketball games with Alyssa Usby for sure. So she'll do whatever she needs to do to help us win games, and I have every reason to believe that will continue.
Thanks.
All right, let's go to Matt Krause.
Thanks, Dana. Courtney, good to see you as always. So you talked about Lexi playing for Team USA in the 3v3, and then Deja's participating in the AmeriCup right now. Curious the process of players being selected to Team USA. Mm-hmm. Do the people from USA Basketball reach out to you? Is there some process where you're nominating people? Just wondering if you could kind of shed some light on that.
No, the people at USA Basketball, they're in charge of their own process, right? And so Alyssa was invited to both the AmeriCup and the 3v3, and wasn't entirely cleared for that, so wasn't able to do that. But I wish I had any say. It would be great if I could get all my guys having USA basketball experience, but no, they do a really good job of knowing what they need and who they deem would help them win gold medals. And I'm fortunate that India's won one with when she was in the U19 team. And like I said, Alyssa last year and now these two this year. I mean, it's awesome to have a team of people that are recognized nationally for their success, but no, it's directly, they reach out. I find out at the same time the kids do. So I'm on the email, I'm attached as a CC, but it is not me. It's not me to them. It's them to us for sure.
Got it. Thank you.
Of course.
Marissa?
You kind of touched on a little bit with my first question about schedule, but and then we talked about a little bit in Charlotte last year, but with some of the more big games we're seeing across the country, and especially with ACC teams getting those early conference non-cons are kind of a bigger deal. Obviously, the Jumpman is one of them, and then the ACC Challenge, then other conference teams like the Iowa Virginia Tech game, and then Notre Dame going to Paris. Sorry, guys. Just some thoughts on the women getting more and more of those chances we've seen for years.
Yeah, again, I'm so proud to be a part of the game at this time in its maturation, because the product is so good, right? If you looked at last year's Final Four, the two most famous players on either side, men or women, was Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, right? Both women, right? And so the women's game has a great appetite for it now. I think the product is really good, and so TV is recognizing the market value is high, right? And so we knew the SEC Challenge. We knew about which teams we were going to get. We knew that was going to be one of the top three teams was going to be here in Carmichael, because that's what the TV would like, right? And we're thrilled. I mean, I think it's really, if we can find a way to get Iowa in the final, out in Fort Myers, how great would that be for us? That would be the game right before South Carolina, and that you get an opportunity to compete on a neutral court against close to a national champion, followed by the national champion from a year ago. How cool. So it's awesome for our game, and there's many coaches and players that have been a part of it to get it to where it is right now. And I'm just thrilled that I can even be a small piece of that now, trying to bring it to the next level.
Marissa, any follow-up? All right, we'll go Maddie with the News and Observer.
Hi, Coach. It's nice to meet you. I'm here for the summer. I just wanted to say hello and introduce myself first.
Awesome.
So I wanted to ask you about your freshmen that have started to come on campus and integrate themselves into the culture and things like that. What have you seen out of those 5 so far? I know it's super early into summer workouts and everything, but what have you seen out of them and how they're kind of adapting to the coaching style and the environment that they're now in?
It's a perfect word, adapt. I mean, we had them, they are totally assimilated. I mean, they do what they're told. They're on time. They come with great energy. They're super connected with one another. They came here with a very clear purpose. They remind me a lot of the Alyssa class, Deja, Z, and AP in that way. I mean, they came here to do things special together, right? And they've been really purpose-driven in their approach. So, and I watching our returners embrace them. So every team is so different, and this team is really special. I've really enjoyed their collectedness right away. I mean, but it takes good people to be welcomed, right? And they are good people, so they are warmly welcomed by the people around them, the transfers and the returners. But yeah, that from a talent perspective, but also from a culture fit and a sense of purpose, it's a home run for sure.
And then kind of touching on what we've mentioned about the maturation of the women's game and everything. This freshman class you mentioned earlier is coming in at a very important time for the development of women's basketball. Do you think that they realize that and they understand that, and that's part of the reason that they're able to bring so much energy and life into this already existing team?
I hope so. I think too, when we talk about this in the recruiting process, is when they make a decision, when they're ready to make the decision, you have to decide, and then you got to go all in. Right? If you're going to kind of see how it goes, this isn't the place for you, because you don't want to play for a coach who's just going to kind of see how it goes. Like, I have a very clear purpose in that I want to help bring Carolina back to the consistent national spotlight. And it's going to take a lot of good players to do that. Right. And so. I think they also are making true on what their expectation was, right? And why they came here. And once you recruit them and then they choose you, you're coaching them from afar for a year, right? So I'm bringing them into the big moments. I'm teaching them through some of our hard moments from last year, so that they recognize that when it's their turn, we aren't starting over, right? They're just, now we're bringing them along. So yeah, I hope they do. I don't know if their perspective is big enough yet for them to know, but I think they know that this is a program that's moving in the right direction, and they either have to be ready to compete or they will be left behind, right? And so they're thrilled to be here and again, have approached their responsibilities with a maturity and a sense of purpose that has been really, really welcomed.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Michael, do you have another one?
Yes, Coach, with Tiani and Kayla, this is really their first summer where they're 100% healthy, will get a full, regimen of work. Are you expecting both of them to take, the freshman to sophomore leap that so many other players have taken?
Yeah, I mean, Kayla's still kind of working her way through some of her progression physically. But Tiani, like you said, has never been healthier and stronger. And yeah, we're starting to really see, I mean, I was excited about Tiani last year, and I think everyone was like, yeah, but when is she going to be good? And I'm like, don't worry about it. She'll be good. We don't make recruiting mistakes here, and you just wait. And I think she's put more into it than ever before, and she's getting more out of it as a result. But yeah, for her to have an off season where she's stacking days and is physically able to add the consistent volume that's needed, it's so needed, and I'm so happy for her. And coaching Tiani Key is a joy because of how much she can do now that she's healthy and athletic and more experienced and wants it and all the things. And then Kayla, man, I don't think she practiced at all last year, and she was pretty helpful. So yeah, having those two as huge parts of our program, I like our chances.
And you mentioned the international players before, but with Deja, the America, Liz and Lexi playing in the 3-on-3 tournament, what sort of value do you see in the players getting those international experiences?
I think anytime you play with other good players, and also you get coached by other good coaches, right? It kind of reminds you sometimes to be thankful for what you got, because they love it here, and we've got a great thing going from our connection with one another. But they also see different styles. I mean, USA basketball, the stuff they're running now, they're going a lot through bigs, and Deja's used to being kind of more through guard play. And in the 3v3, it's their value, their high motor is valued in even more because it's a smaller distance than a 5v5. But yeah, I think just the newness of experience is only helpful to their cap, playing alongside other players with other tendencies and other coaches with other expectations, kind of sometimes brings you back home.
Thanks, Coach.
Of course.
All right, Mitchell.
Yeah, Coach. You talked about kind of being able to throw other teams some different looks this year. It struck me that, by adding Maria and Sierra, you really have size depth now, front court depth, people who can protect the rim. I guess how excited are you to kind of have that look? And was that sort of a conscious effort, getting Maria in the portal this year?
Big time. I mean, when Maria went in the portal, because I remember 2 years ago when we were at Boston College, her freshman year, we could not get a shot off. I mean, she was just blocking everything. And I was like, ugh. And we recruited her the first time. So it was basically between us and Boston College. And so once she went in the portal, I was like, remember me? I think that was my first text to her, and I'll never forget when the day she committed, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. And she's so lovable. I mean, the team loves her. She is so long, Mitchell. It's ridiculous. I mean, she has great extension. She got really soft touch. She's incredibly coachable. I think she's already making strides to be a little bit more skilled. And yeah, it just gives you so much. So you have her length, you have Tiani's length, you have Anya's experience, and on a Sweet 16 and run a 32 team. And then you've got, of course, Z can really stretch the floor. Riley's like our little Dennis Rodman. I mean, we've got way more depth and size and athleticism there now, that we hope can not only help us on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end.
And then I was just going to ask about India. She was a local kid, but goes to the West Coast of Stanford, is with that team for a year, then goes into the portal. When you see a name like that you're probably pretty familiar with pop up, is that someone you're just jumping at the opportunity to bring back home? Yeah,
I wanted to ask her why she didn't pick us the first time though, right? Because it was only a year ago. And, and she had a really poignant answer. She said she didn't know we'd get good so fast, right? She really wanted to play. If you can get to a Sweet 16, you're one weekend away from the Final Four, right? And then when she saw that we were doing that, she was like, wait, I should just go back there then. I didn't know you were going to be doing that. Right. And so she brings such an athleticism. I mean, when she's one of our most explosive and powerful athletes, she's great on the glass. And she is thrilled to be back home, but yeah, when her name went in, I was like, I mean, we're going to get her. I mean, at that point, I'm like, India, I think that recruitment took a day. It was like, India, stop. You just came here. You've already visited officially. I'm not even going to let you visit again. Like, you've already visited, but tell me why you didn't come the first time. And that was it. She was like, I'm ready to come home and I just want to help however I can help. She never asked about playing time. She never asked about, it was just about how can I help, and that's when you get the right kids, when they're not asking you on the front end. They have no sweat equity in your program. And they're saying, hey, how much am I going to play? I take detours from those kids pretty quick, and the kids that just want to come help you and get better, they're going to play because that their heads are in the right space.
All right, RL.
Yeah, you named Liz Roberts the general manager. Why was she right for the job, and what all is entailed in that job?
Yeah, partly why we named her the general manager is before that she was the director of recruiting, and she does so many other things, right? She handles our NIL space for our student athletes. She does all of our alumni connection. She is she understands how I communicate, and so she can kind of be the chief of staff with all the other staff members when I'm kind of doing a million other things like this. So the general manager just fit her job description better, and it's why she was right in it is, the people sometimes get overlooked because they don't have the experience. And as I always say, I wasn't the head coach at the University of North Carolina until I was, right. And she started as a director of recruiting where she just really handled the organizational details of our recruiting, which is not easy. I'm pretty relentless in that space. And then good people just get more and more added. And she just got so much more added where it got to the point where I was like, it's just not fair that your title is director of recruiting when you're also running the NIL and the alumni and the day-to-day of all the various things that are happening in our program and really acting as our chief of staff. She's just a difference maker. She moves our needle in so many ways. If she's not here for a day, we all would feel it. Everybody on our staff would feel it.
And I don't believe you brought in a walk-on before. And what led you to bring in Barker?
It's a great story.
Has a lot of talented players ahead of her.
It's a great story. She was choosing between, I think it was like, she had like Charlotte and Campbell and all this, a lot of the mid-majors had offered her scholarships. And so she calls me in the fall and says, Coach, would you ever consider letting me walk on? And I was like, let me ask. And Liz Roberts was a walk-on that I gave a scholarship to. So I needed to know what that all entailed. And I don't really know what that means. So let me just look into it. And then I said, it was a no-brainer in terms of a culture fit and all that. And so we said, we'd love to make it happen. Let me just call admissions and find out how that works. So I called admissions and asked if, we were going to support Sydney and wanted to make sure she gets in. And they were like, no, you don't get to say who gets in as a walk-on, right? You're going to have to offer a scholarship. And as you know, we already have 14, and that means any mid-year kid that might want to we wouldn't have a scholarship for. So anyway, I had to go call her. We got on a Zoom with her and mom, who's a triple alum, and her dad, who's a single alum of Carolina. And I had to look him in the eye and say, I can't guarantee she'll get into Carolina, that she will find out in middle of January, which means she will lose her scholarship opportunities at the schools up for the letter of intent day. And Sid looked me right back in the eye and said, it's always been my dream to wear a Carolina uniform. So I'm going to invest in myself. And so I went to her senior night just to support her. I thought that was a nice thing to do. She scored 46 points, right? And when you come and watch our practice, you will not think she's a walk-on. Now she's a little bit undersized, of course, but so am I, and I'm doing all right, right? And so I think she's a really special addition. She's adored by her teammates, and this Carolina blue means something to her. And so you have that in the locker room every day, as well as a kid that can score. It's a win.
And then I want to ask, with all the talent on this team, I guess your goal might be to have a bigger rotation. And is there also a concern about keeping everybody happy?
At this day and age, I mean, you're always concerned about keeping everybody happy. And what you have to learn to realize is that you're never going to be able to do that anyway, right? You play someone 40 minutes a game, it might not be enough, right? And so you just can't worry about that. I always go back to it. My job is to do what's right for this program every single day. And that doesn't mean it's always right for you or for you or for you, but it's what's right for this program. And so the fact that we have more talent means our practices can be more competitive. It means we've got more depth. It means there's more iron sharpens iron. I told our guys who went through the portal, I said, here's how the portal works. You all can get up and leave anytime you want, right? So what we have to do is we have to go date people in case any of you all leave. And just so you're all clear, when you date people, you ultimately might fall in love. That's actually how it goes. You're just casually dating, and then next thing you know, you fell in love, right? Well, I fell in love with 3 kids, right? So we've added them to our program, right? And I think but you have 2 choices with that. You can either, when you're surrounded by talent, whether that's in the workforce or in the athletic team, or it doesn't matter, right? You're surrounded by talent. You have 2 choices, not 3. There's just not a third. It's either you rise to it or you fall because of it. There's nothing else in between. Right. So I'm not going to begrudge you if you want to fall from it and go somewhere else, but I'm going to coach you if you want to rise to it. And the kids that are here have chosen to rise to it, and we'll figure out how to make sure that every kid continues to get better, because that's my job. I have to make sure every kid in our program gets better. And then the ones that help us win basketball games at the highest rate in the most efficient way will be the ones that play more. But no man left behind in terms of how we coach, and every guy is going to get better while they're here. And we certainly hope they enjoy the experience enough to be a part of this for as long as they want to be. But you don't want kids that don't want to be here anyway, right? And so you can't coach to that. You can't worry about the portal. You can use it to your advantage, and you can also coach the team you got, which right now is a team of 15 kids that every single one of them can help us.
Thanks.
Jeremiah, one last question. We got to wrap up.
Yeah, just a kind of a quick one, I guess, about, kind of the, dynamic of the guards on the team. So of course you have, a Deja Kelly that's been all ACC going into her senior year. Then you have, some of the younger ones, like, of course, Navarre coming in, then Paris and McPherson, and obviously the freshmen. Just like, what does, having someone like Deja Kelly, who's kind of, can play either guard spot, what kind of advantage or what kind of help is that, kind of to some of the younger guards on the team? In what ways have you kind of seen her, maybe give pointers or anything like that?
Well, DK had a great internship up at SLAM up in New York, and then she went to USA Basketball. So she hasn't been able to be here much. But I think there's strength in that too, right? So she's kind of their cheerleader from afar right now, but she's also a great example of, you come to Carolina because you want to have great opportunities on and off the court. Well, she's doing that. Right. She's doing that by getting an internship and then also by playing USA Basketball. And so I think in a lot of ways, she's a great example of like what, and that kid's going to be, she came back a couple days in between the 2 things to work out. And you could tell that kid's been working out, and so she's got basketball as a priority. She's got her future and her branding as a priority, and she's doing it all. And so I think that's a great example for our guys that it's a competitive life that we're living out there, but take advantage of all the opportunities along the way. And so, yeah, having Deja Kelly is obviously been a huge part of our program's growth and success. And, when she's here soon, she will be a huge part of the maturation of our young guys, in terms of the example that she sets every day and the leadership that she provides.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate you jumping on, and I'll get the recording to anybody who needs it, and we'll be back in touch as the summer goes along.
Thanks, Dana. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Ready?
Thank you.
Go.